This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Everybody, welcome all Torah Anytime viewers. Tonight we are going to continue, and hopefully this will B'ezrat Hashem be the last one on disproving the other religions. Again, disproving the other religions. I don't read minds. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on there. Okay, that look doesn't tell me anything. If you realize what we did was, our focus was to hit is a bad word, to touch on every religion that has more population than Judaism. Did I speak about this already? Did I say this? I don't remember. I said this already, this idea? Okay, so today, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll finish it. We'll finish all the rest of them. We'll even throw some of them that are less than Judaism, just to touch upon it. So to begin, we will speak about Islam. So Islam is the fastest growing religion by far. It's going to surpass Christianity as the world's largest religion, and it depends who you ask. Some of them actually say that it already, I guess the Muslims say that it already surpassed it, the Christians said not yet, but throughout all the reports by I think 2050 or whatever the estimated time frame is, they're going to be, assuming everything goes as is going right now, the projection is that they will be the largest religion in the world. Now, why is that? Why are they the largest religion in the world? Is it because you have a bunch of intellectual scholars that are, let's learn the Quran, let's read it, and be like, this is the right religion, and that's why they're coming into it? Or is it for a different reason? And the answer is, it is for a very, very different reason. In fact, the number one reason why they're going so fast is, let's see if any of you guys can figure it out. Very easy.
Fun. They have the most children.
Yeah, that's right. They just got the most babies. That's it. Christianity.
Children.
Yes, but when you have 1 billion have a lot of children and 14 million have a lot of children.
But we were first.
But we have lost a lot to intermarriage. You know what happens if they're not modest? There's a drive-by. If they're dealing with a non-modest wedding or something like that, they do a drive-by, and it's not just a drive-by to take pictures. I mean, they're shooting something, but it's not photography. So they do. The reason why they're the number one religion is they have the most kids. You have an average maybe 6, 7, or 8 kids, and I think that's a very low estimate from how many kids they actually do have. But I guess an overall 6, 7, 8 kids, while Christianity has 1 to 2, more closer to the 1. So obviously, you see how this is going to transfer into that. And when you have 1.8 billion having 6, 7, 8 kids, that's obviously going to translate into a very, very high.
Much younger, right?
Yeah, they do. They also get married to more than one person, more than one wife. When this religion was started by the founder, which was, I'm sure everybody knows, was Muhammad. Muhammad, he started off as praying to idols when he was younger. When he was 40 years old, he had a divine revelation. And the revelation came in a fact that he had an angel by the name of Gabriel, or Jibril in Arabic, that came over to him and started revealing to him the true religion. And he started, and he told him, he says, worshipping any other god is considered idolatry. It's a great sin. You're not allowed to do it. Only Islam is going to be the right and the correct religion. And he started taking this and he started preaching this to everybody who wanted to listen. Originally he didn't get that many followers. Friends and family plan only is what he got. More than that, he wasn't able to get. And in fact, the people at that time were idol worshippers, and they didn't like this idea of one God. That's so weak. They had a plethora of gods. So they actually attempted to assassinate him. He escaped assassination, and he eventually went to Medina. And he started claiming that Islam is going to repair the mistakes of Christianity and Judaism. So we'll soon see, because they do believe in those two religions, but it was all messed up. And Islam came to fix it all up. The Prophet, which they claim Muhammad, he received messages through 23 years of his life, and they put this together in chapters known as surahs. Surahs is where you have the chapters of the Quran. The problem was that he didn't personally write it down. Question is what? Maybe he was illiterate, maybe he didn't. Whatever it was, he had scribes that would write it down. The problem with having the scribes write it down is that there was one scribe by the name of...
He lived in global, he was illiterate.
Yeah, so some people say it, which is why I mentioned it. There was a scribe by the name of Abdullah ibn Sa'd, who was a scribe for Muhammad, and he left. The reason why he left is that Muhammad would usually just let him change whatever he wanted. Muhammad would dictate him to write this, and he'll be like, what about this? I'd be like, yeah, whatever you want, you can write it. So it's like, if it's a word of God, how could you start changing it? You can't even change one letter. In the Torah, we know that if one letter is misspelled or is missing, the whole Torah is not good. So how could you claim a divine revelation from a God, through an angel, whatever it is, and yet that you could change whatever you want. And in fact, he quotes it, Abdullah quotes it, and he says like this, he says, I used to direct Muhammad wherever I willed. He would tell me to write on Most High, All Wise, and I would write All Wise only. And he would say, yeah, it's all the same. On a certain occasion, he said, write such and such, and I decided to only write just, only whatever he wanted to write. And Muhammad said to him, yeah, write whatever you want. That doesn't really spell the idea of prophetic divinity, coming directly from God, because you can't change something that comes from God. Even if it sounds like it's the same, you can't even change it. We know the Torah, you can't even change one letter. And you can see these types of changes in Surah chapter 23, verse 14. Muhammad, when he came to a certain, when he conquered Mecca, he actually ordered 10 people to be executed, and this scribe, Abdullah, was one of them, surprisingly. Well, unsurprisingly would be the right answer. The deal with this is that you think about it, it all really relies on the fact of Muhammad telling everybody else, this is what he was told, this is what he said. There was no like revelation that he was speaking to God, everybody saw it, and there was a big mountain or hill or valley, whatever it was, and everybody witnessed it. It was just one guy by himself who happened to claim that he spoke to God. And they do claim other, I guess you could say, miracles. Some are miracles, some are less. For example, they claim that Muhammad's mother never experienced any pain in pregnancy. Congratulations. She also heard a voice one day that her son will be a ruler and a prophet. The Quran states that he was born circumcised. And, a few others. But even if all these are correct, which we have no way of verifying it, but even if they're all correct, it doesn't matter, because just because his mother didn't have any pain in pregnancy or because he was born circumcised. I know people that are born circumcised. It doesn't make them divine, a prophet, or a god. So they do claim some miracles. What are the miracles? They claim the splitting of the moon. Which is a very, very big problem to claim the splitting of the moon, because if there was really a splitting of the moon, then everybody on the Arabian side of the world would have been able to see it, and I would have documented something about, like, hey, by the way, the moon, there was a situation going on and such date, and this is what happened. But yet nothing is written about it. In fact, there are many scholars that claim that if there was a splitting of the moon, many people would have started their own religions based on that, just that alone. But we don't have any information. Nothing is written about it. I don't know exactly how it split and cut in half, or what exactly happened to it. But
in the Quran, I'm lost us there.
This is where they claim to have a miracle. Where the source of where it's written, I'm not sure. I would assume, I don't know. I would look it up.
So they claim the moon split in two?
Split.
And then that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a miracle. You don't have to understand miracles.
They went back together, right?
Well, apparently now it's back together.
Is that why the moon is like their thingy, whatever?
Holes?
Their sign.
No, their sign.
No, because the Jews are also go by the moon lunar calendar.
No, their sign.
Because they go by the lunar calendar.
No, their symbol.
I know, I'm telling you, because they go by the lunar calendar.
Oh, that's why it is?
I'm pretty yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Star hanging from the moon.
Right. The Heksher sign, right? So, in any case, they also claim a rapid conquest of Arabia, which we claimed beforehand. Just because you're good at warfare does not mean that you're right. Alexander the Great was great at warfare. Does that make him a god, which he claimed that he was? No. It doesn't mean anything by claiming some ideas. These are evidence that you're trying to prove something with not valid evidence. Furthermore, they also claim that if you master the Quran and you read the Quran the way it's supposed to be read in Arabic, then nobody would ever think that it would be written by a human being, because it's too great, too beautiful, that it could only be written by Allah himself. Allah is what they refer to as God. So the problem with that is that there are millions and millions of Christians that are Arabs, and they read Islam, and they've read the Quran, and yet they are still Christians. You also have people that were the Jewish, even nowadays, the Jewish language that was spoken for a majority of time was Arabic. Even have a lot of Jews over here that come from certain areas, they speak Arabic. They speak Arabic, they read Arabic, they do everything in Arabic. Jews read the Quran in Arabic, other people read the Quran in Arabic, and no one was, blown away with it. But well, this is crazy, this must be the divine religion. Just by saying it's a poetic book, it's a nice book, doesn't mean anything, just means it was a good author. You look at the Harry Potter book. I don't know how poetic it is, but it's a very popular book. Do you think 50 years down the line someone's going to turn it into well, maybe, Americans will turn it into a religion. And we'll see what they're doing about it now. So are many religions. But you think about it, just because it's a beautiful book, a well-written book, does not make it divine. It just means that maybe he was good at writing, or the people are good. Whatever it was that it put it together, it doesn't mean anything more than that. Putting all that aside, the Islamic religion happens to be, held more higher, I guess you could say, from the Jewish perspective than almost all the other religions and cults. Why? Because they actually preach true monotheism. They really believe in one God. They pray to one God. The same idea as the Jewish, as the Jewish belief. So we do hold it at a higher level than anything else. An example of where this would come to play is a church. You're not allowed to walk into a church. Now, I'll take pictures into a church, and I'll go into those type of churches because the churches are places of idolatry. The worship of Avodah Zarah. You're not allowed to go in there. Islam, on the other hand, has it's not Avodah Zarah. They actually go and they actually pray to one God. So there are many, I shouldn't say many, there are some commentaries that they go and they would explain, that you are allowed to walk into a mosque. You are allowed to go into it as opposed to anything else. And the reason for that is because they don't preach idolatry, they preach one and they pray to one God. One of the things that I find very, very problematic when I have a hard time understanding it is the whole idea where Israel, where they call Palestine, they believe that it's theirs. The Dome of the Rock, behind the Kotel they have the mosque over there. That was put into place in the year 690. That was, the Jewish people had the land of Israel for a long time before that. A very, very long time before that. They came in afterwards. They put in their mosque over there. So what makes us the ones, this is hard for me to understand, what makes us the ones that are in a territory that doesn't belong to us? If anything, they're the ones that should not be there. I can't even begin to. We were here first. We have we have the Kotel. We have things that we can prove that we were there before them. So where can they begin to say that they were there before us? I really don't know how this even came to be. But again, when you're speaking logically, sometimes it doesn't always work.
We might be thinking of before Hashem gave us Eretz Israel, it belonged to the Amori, Hitti, Rizi, Yebusi, Girgashi, all these nations. I
didn't hear any Ishmaelite over there.
But most of them were Arab people. So they think that it belonged to them before Hashem gave it to us. So we can always say, okay, come take it, fight for it.
Well, we don't have to say that, because if they believe in the Torah, which they technically, we'll soon see how much they technically do believe in the Torah, it says over there that God gave, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, Eretz Israel. God gave it to them.
But by war, right? We fought. We had the whole...
Okay. But if they believe in the Torah, and the Torah says that it belongs to the Jews, then that's it. End of story. They do believe in it, but they claim that it was corrupted. So we'll explain it. We'll explain on that. So they do believe in it. So in any case, it's a question and it's a problem. The Quran, when you're dealing with the Quran and it stands to the Torah, people are very, very confused by the idea of what does it actually believe. So in the New Testament, for example, Christianity, they believe 100% the Old Testament. The Torah, they believe everything is as it says. They don't argue on it. They don't claim that it was corrupted. It is as it is. The Quran, however, they confirm the original revelations by the prophets. Moshe and all those, we'll soon see also Eliyahu. They confirm the prophets, and in fact, they list 25 prophets by name in the Torah. It's not written, for example, Noach will be Noah, Abraham will be Ibrahim, Moses will be Musa, Eliyahu will be Ilyas, it will be Yaqub instead of Yaakov. They also put in there Jesus in there. JC is also in there. He's known as Isa. Isa was also considered, according to Islam, he was also a prophet. They don't, they claim a little bit different things, but he was also the prophet. I don't think they mention Isa in there. And if they do, I don't know. What do you think they claim to be the first Muslim? Who was the first Muslim? Ibrahim. They claim that he was the first Muslim with his son Ishmael, which made the first pilgrimage to Mecca. In any case, Musa, which is Moses, which was, according to them, not a Muslim, a Jew, was sent by God to the idolatrous nations of Egypt and revealed to them the 10 Commandments. This they do believe, that the Jews got the 10 Commandments. And in fact, Musa is mentioned in the Quran more than any other prophet. He's mentioned numerous times. They also have, when they mention JC, Isa ben Maryam, as a prophet, they claim him as a prophet, but they do not believe that he was the son of God. They believe that he was just a prophet. They also don't believe that he died on crucifixion. But they do mention him as a prophet. However, so you're taking these ideas. They do claim that the Torah is true, But, and a very big but over here, they actually claim that the Jews misinterpreted, changed the entire Torah. And we'll soon see how we see that. We will go and prove that it's not possible, and we could easily prove that. But they did take a lot of things from the Torah. An example, they took that Jews pray every single day. Also, Islam prays Jews pray 3 times a day. Islam prays 5 times a day, right? We pray 5 times a day only on Yom Kippur. They said that's the best day. We're doing that every single day of the year. But they have, their prayer is obviously not all day. They're like 15 minutes, depending on the prayer, is shorter than that. The Jews fast on Yom Kippur. We fast on 1 day biblically. Now they're going to fast, the whole month of Ramadan. Yeah, I know. That's what someone told me. So it's a good thing that you're giving a class now about it, because it just started Ramadan. I'm like, I don't know why. I mean, I'm not. That's out though, so I don't know what to tell you. So, you have to understand, the reason that I'm giving these classes, I'm not looking to convert people from other religions. I'm not. That's not my purpose. My purpose here is for the Jewish people or anybody else who's seeking the truth, and to understand how do we appreciate what our Torah is, how true it is. When we are going to go through all these religions and also cults, we're going to see how true the Torah is, and how it makes it so much stronger. It validifies everything that it could possibly say on it. The Quran also speaks about people of the book. And the people who are the book were the Jews. And they actually say respect them, honor them. They say that in a few places. But what happened was when Muhammad went and he started preaching to the Jews, hey, look, similar religion, we're doing the same thing, praying to one God, right? We got the same thing going on over here. Come join our religion. They were like, we got the real thing. We don't need a knockoff. Thank you, but no thank you. And he was very upset, and then he waged war on them, to go and fight against them. And in fact, the Quran states that if they, by they referring to the Jews and the Christians, accept your faith, which is Islam, then they shall be rightly guided. If they reject it, they will surely be in a disaster. This is stating right away that even though they're claiming that Judaism was correct, Christianity was correct, but at this point in time, it's so bad, it's so far off that the only way to do it is only through the Islam, only through the Quran. The problem that we have over here, which again they could answer against us, but the problem that it says openly in Genesis, in Bereshit chapter 21, verse 12, Ki beyitzchak yikra lecha zera. Where are you going to have where's your children going to come when he's speaking to Abraham? Not through Ishmael, through Yitzchak. It says it straight out. Then the Islamic people claim, no. That really should have been Ki beishmael yikra lecha zera. The Jews changed it to Yitzchak. We erased Ishmael and we changed it and put it to Yitzchak. So according to this, then Ishmael was the right son to be. A very, very obvious question is if Ishmael was the right son, then how come the Ishmaelim didn't get the Torah? Why did the Jews get the Torah? If anything, if the Ishmael is the right one, why did we get stuck with the Torah? It should have gotten, Chas v'shalom, get stuck at it. How come we were privileged to get the Torah and not the Ishmael who was supposed to get it? They had to wait almost 2,500 years afterwards, a little over 2,000 years. Oh, and then, God's going to be like, guess what? Everything is wrong. You're right now. Muhammad is going to be you through Jibreel, and that's going to be that. It's a very, very weak claim. They agree, and these are some of the things they agree. They agree that the Jews received the Torah, not the Muslims. They agree that until Muhammad came, Islam, there was no Ishmaelim didn't worship one God. They worshipped, a bunch of idols. They're sand worshippers. They worshipped a bunch of avodah zarah. They agree that the Jews went into Egypt, not the Muslims. They also agree that the Jews received the land of Israel and not the Muslims. And this is where I get, where we are today. I have a hard time. I don't know how the thought process connects the two, but this is what they do claim. We could also say that in the Torah, in Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 1 through 4, it says very, very clearly that all the mitzvot, the entire Torah, will be remaining and binding forever. Which means is that anybody who comes to change the Torah is a false prophet. You're not allowed to listen to it. Now, if God, which will obviously know the future, everybody claims, that any divine power like that will know the future. So if God knew that the Jews were going to corrupt the Torah, He shouldn't have wrote that inside there. Why would God write that these laws are binding forever? It's going to be like, no, wait a minute. The Jews are going to mess it up. It really should have put it in parentheses or an asterisk, a little bit on the side. You're going to do it, but then there's going to come another prophet. His name is Muhammad, and he's going to come, and he is going to go, and he's going to correct everything. But yet nothing says like that. And in fact, if the Torah says that these commandments are binding forever, that's a very big stance right there. That's telling you that these commandments are going to be the same forever. It's not going to be changed, it's not going to be altered, because if God's telling you that it's staying forever, that means it's going to stay forever. The question is that they claim that the Torah was distorted, and the language that they use for this is tarif. Tarif is very interesting. It's almost like tarif, like treif. They use the word tarif, which means alterations. This is what the Quran claims that the Torah was altered by the Jews. However, they don't give any evidence. It's like one of those people that it's wrong, but I'm not going to give you any evidence. I'll give you the idea behind it. Giving this like mini series that we're doing on the other religions, I knew I was going to get heat on all these things from all the believers of the other religions. I didn't anticipate the amount that I was going to get. I've been getting tremendous amount. What?
They went on a rant.
That's only what you see online. You don't see what goes behind the scenes.
They claim that it's still wrong. It's still not to their benefit. If they agree that we got the Torah and Sinai,
yeah.
So how can God give it to us and tell us that He has chosen Ishmael in the Torah?
Exactly. Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. But they claim they changed it. That's why. They have a very, we have to give it to them. They have a very, very strong claim that the Christians don't have. Because we could go to the Christians and say, listen, you believe in our Torah? Yes. It says in my Torah that I can prove your thing wrong. We go to Ishmael, you believe in our Torah? You know? Peanut butter. So those, we can't, what are we going to prove to them? However, let's see if we can prove it that it's not possible that the Torah was distorted. But speaking about what I said about before, the amount of heat that I'm getting from all these classes, I'm getting nonstop people that are saying, you're wrong. You have false information. So I simply reply back, okay, please enlighten me.
Right.
Not one yet has given me an answer. Not one. And I have people, from whatever you see, they write verses. Like just quote verses.
You should read it.
Yeah, they just comment on the... There's some people, I stop even reading their stuff. I don't have time to read, you're going to start quoting Isaiah 53. I mean, I read it before. Someone tells me, like, you should read Isaiah 53. I'm like, I did. You should read Isaiah 52, 51, 49, and so on and so forth. The whole book is pretty good also. Try just reading the, not one chapter. Maybe you could understand what it's actually talking about. So the idea behind it is that they claim that I'm wrong. They claim, no, you have wrong information. So I'm like, okay, prove it to me. Just tell me what I'm wrong. And I've mentioned this before. If I'm wrong in any of these classes, if I'm wrong to an extent that what I said, the proof that I said was wrong, I would gladly come online or whatever it is, and I'll say I was wrong in it and I'll change it. I'm opening it up for you to argue with it. But yet no one has ever, you don't understand, you don't have the divine, spirit in you, you don't have, all these things that don't mean anything. And in fact, for Christianity itself, you know why I'm so confident in these things? Because I have letters that a rabbi sent to the Vatican Church, and I have the correspondence, a back and forth. If the Vatican couldn't get an answer for it, I don't think a guy who's, decided to, fight against another rabbi be like, hey, you're wrong, I have all the answers. I'm like, you should be the Pope. You should really be the Pope if you have all the answers. We'll get you a Pope mobile, give you a cape, and a hat, and then you could, whatever. Okay, moving on. So, going back to the idea, so when you're trying to prove something wrong, it goes both ways. I could prove something, but then you have the right to prove me back. But if you're not able to prove me back, you're just saying that I'm wrong. That means it just validates everything that I said, that you don't have anything. Just by claiming I'm wrong, it's like like a little kid fight. You're a fatso. You're a fatso. Be like, okay, fine. Chazak, we'll everyone go in the separate ways. We're all fat, and that's it. We move on with our lives. It doesn't prove anything, one thing or another. So, when looking at the idea, was the Torah distorted? So we have three options of when the Torah could be distorted, which means that the Torah was changed by the Jews. Let's look at these three options. If we're able to knock out these three options, that brings us a very, very strong proof that the Torah was not changed. So number one, it was never given correctly. I'll give you all three of them, then we'll explain it. Number two, it was messed up. It was distorted somewhere in the beginning. Or number three, it was distorted somewhere in the middle. And we'll soon see why the end. Well, we can't say the end because the end, we're not at the end. So it's either right in the beginning, it was given wrong. In the beginning, it was messed up. It was given right. In the beginning, it was messed up. Or in the middle, somehow it was messed up. So let's go through all of them and see if we can prove it wrong. If the idea that it was never given correctly is a very, very hard one to grasp. That means that God deliberately gave the wrong Torah to the Jewish people. Now why would God give somebody like the wrong ideas and then wait, 2,000 plus years until Muhammad comes along and then gives the right one? Logically, it doesn't make any sense. Additionally, they claim, let's say JC, for example. They claim JC was a prophet. JC did not say that the Torah was wrong. If JC was a prophet, and in fact they claim Eliyahu, all the prophets that they bring down, not one of them, not any of these prophets, Jewish, non-Jewish, whatever they claims that the Torah was wrong. Now, if the Torah was given wrong, and they were prophets that were speaking with God, speaking with angels, whatever the Islamic belief believes in, they should have said, hey, by the way, you should do this and this, and by the way, what you got going on over there, that's wrong. We gotta change it around. But yet, not one prophet in the history of the world of prophets that are real, can claim that does have any of this type of claim. Only Muhammad comes along and says this was wrong. So again, the fact that it was given in the beginning is a very weak claim in itself. The next idea is maybe it was given correctly. The Torah was given correctly, but it was messed up right in the beginning. The reason why this is very, very hard to grasp also is because if the Torah was given correctly, that means that everybody has it fresh in their minds. So in order to change something right away when everyone's fresh in the mind, you can't do that. You can't imagine somebody trying to go and tell you right now the Twin Towers was just one tower. Like, I remember it. I remember living through that thing. You can't tell me that it was one tower. I know that it was two towers. The government would play projections. You tell me from today until tomorrow everything that you want, it's two towers. I know that for a fact, and you can't change it. If the Torah was changed right at the beginning, the Jews heard the Torah. You can't be like, I know what I'm talking about. I was there. I saw the laws. I heard the laws. I wrote the laws. I have everything down. You can't claim that it's different. So in the beginning, also can be. What about in the middle? In the middle is a good claim. 1,000 years go by, and the Torah was changed by then. The problem for that would be that if the Torah was changed in the middle, then we would see many different versions of the Torah. We wouldn't see one, because if one was changed, so then we would have some manuscripts of the old one, and we would have one was changed a little bit different, the other one was changed a little bit different. Everything is changed a little bit different. So, if it was changed, we would see many versions of the Torah. Yet, we don't have many versions of the Torah. We have one version of the Torah, unlike the New Testament, unlike the Quran, which has numerous types of different versions of the Torah. So again, it cannot be that it was changed middle, because then we would have proof of that, of other versions that it was changed. So, and even furthermore, even if you want to bring in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which I want to speak about a different time, maybe I'll speak about it when we do Bible criticism, but if you want to bring in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which was, about 1,000 years before Muhammad came along, that did not that was more or less the same. So we have proof that the Torah stayed the same throughout the entire period of time. So now, in light of this evidence, Islam comes along and says, what? It's a good point. So it must be, when it was changed after Muhammad. After Muhammad, it was changed. And that's when the things was changed. The problem with that is that we have manuscripts before Muhammad, from after Muhammad, they're all the same. It's, Muhammad was 1,400 years ago. We have manuscripts that claim what it was before, and afterwards, everything stays exactly the same. We have hard evidence that the Torah is the same as it was always before. Now, if the Torah was the same as it was before, that means right away, the whole book of the Quran has a very big flaw in it. Because how can you claim that it was faulted if we can't prove that it's faulted? And you cannot prove that it's faulted. So what makes it wrong? And if our Torah is right, and that means that they're wrong, and then there's nothing even to talk about. They also have some conflicting information. In Surah, chapter 20, verse 85 through 88, it says the prophet Moses, when the story of the Egel, the golden calf, thank you, the golden calf, the Quran claims that it was a Samaritan that went and accused people to go and lead the people astray. He was one who took people out. The problem with that is a very big problem, because the Samaritans didn't even come into existence until about 530 years after Moshe. So which means is they got the dates really, really wrong. You have over here the Torah is speaking about, they're claiming that there were people that didn't come into existence yet for another over 500 years, that they're the ones who went and changed the Torah, and brought people away from to worship the golden calf. They also claim in Surah chapter 28 verse 8 and Surah chapter 40 verse 36 and 37 that Paro met with Haman. Now anybody, I would say maybe third grade level, maybe third or fourth grade level, would know that Paro and Haman did not live in the same times. It's very, very obvious.
They were confusing people.
If they confuse people up, that's very likely. I'm sure they confuse people up, but that means that it's not divine. If you have such mistakes like that, then it's a very big problem. You're talking about over 1,000 years gap. How do they talk to each other? They actually met with him.
It must mean that every king of Egypt is called Pharaoh.
Not in the time of Haman.
Until today, they might be called Pharaoh.
Until today?
Yeah, like it's there.
No, they don't call it. It was president. Blah 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 blah. I don't know. So the Muslim, you know what they claim? They claim that no, really. They don't claim that it was another Paro. They claim that we changed it. Haman was really in the time of Paro. We just changed it all up. And the Rambam just answers this back.
This story of Purim happened then.
Somewhere, I think they claim it that I don't know if it was. Yeah, I guess something like that. They claim it that they were at the same time. I don't know if they say it was the earlier version or the late version, but they claim that it's the same.
History has the entire, Megillat Esther history by them. They have it.
We have it also. I'm saying, but
we have it Yes, but if we want to bring proofs, we can get from Iran history. They have it that we use.
You're telling me. I mean, I agree with you. I'm not arguing.
We have to get the proof. We have to get the proof.
We don't even have to that because we have Megillat Esther. We have documents from before already Muhammad came into being that when this story happened.
But it doesn't help if they think our things are misconstrued.
So again, that's why but we have documents that it was of the dates, which means we have a document when it actually happened. The date time, even if they say they messed it up, we have the document when it started. You could date it. You could do all these different things of it. So once you have that information, even if they think the text inside is wrong, but the proof that we actually have from when it happened, that they can't claim that's wrong.
If we show from your own history, then they'll say, "Oh, like."
You think that's going to help?
No.
They also say that the daughter of Paro. We know that the daughter of Paro raised Moshe. Right? We see this in Exodus chapter 22, verse 5 to 9. However, the Quran claims that it was Paro's wife. Also, a very, very big contradiction. Again, they could say we changed it.
It was his wife?
Yeah, it was his wife that raised Moshe. But where it gets a little bit more interesting is that in Surah chapter 19, verse 27 through 28, it states that Mary, which is JC's mother, was the sister of Moshe, which means that Mary was Miriam. Moshe had a sister Miriam. They claim that JC, which means that JC was Moses' nephew. Which that is, that's 1,300 years you're dealing with of a difference in time over here. You can't. Now again, this just shows that it's a lack of divinity in the inconsistencies of what it has over here. They claim also that Kedat Yitzchak wasn't a Kedat Yitzchak; it was a Kedat Ishmael. The problem again that we have with this, we have the Septuagint. The Septuagint was a Greek translation of the Torah, which existed roughly about 700 years before Muhammad came into being. Before even Muhammad came into, and it says in that already, it says that it was Yitzchak and not Ishmael. Furthermore, if they are claiming him as a prophet, then where are the prophecies? Show us some prophecies. The Torah, we have prophets. They said prophecies. Muhammad doesn't have any prophecies in the Torah, in his Quran. They also claim that the crucifixion in Surah chapter 12 verse 41, that in the time of Yosef, this is Yosef HaTzadik in the Old Testament, there was crucifixions. People used to get crucified. And in fact, in Surah chapter 7 verse 124 and chapter 26 verse 49, they also claim that Paro threatened the magicians to die through crucifixion. However, we don't have no archaeological and no historical evidence that this is what the Egyptians used to practice, crucifixion. In fact, this came in much later in history. So they are claiming things that there's no validation for it. Also, Alexander the Great is mentioned in the Quran. It's in Surah chapter 18, verse 83 to 98. It's actually, his name is not Alexander the Great over there. It's actually Dul Quran Yain. Quran Yain. It's, I'm for sure pronouncing it wrong. But any claim, the majority of the Muslim scholars claim that this is indeed Alexander the Great. And they claim over there that he was righteous and good and a God-fearing man. And he would lead the people into the fold of the Islamic faith. Now, anybody that does just a little bit of research on Alexander the Great could see that he wasn't the godly. Well, I shouldn't say that because he did claim to be God. He literally claimed to be a god, a son of an Egyptian god. So, to call him a righteous man, nobody calls him in history a righteous man. A good warrior, yes. Successful in what he did, yes. But a good man, if you read just a little bit about what he used to do, he was not considered a good man. Granted, he was good to the Jews. And that's why you have a lot of children named Alexander, right? I think they switched it to Sasha. Sasha in Russian is Alexander, right? I don't know how they got to that. Right. So, but that's Alexander, right? Yeah. Because he was good to the Jews during the time of with Shimon HaTzadik, whatever. It's a long story in itself. Very interesting. The Quran also says that in Surah chapter 13 verse 3, chapter 15 verse 19, chapter 50 verse 7, and a few more, that the earth is flat. It was a flat earth. Well, I don't have to tell you the problem with that. We actually have pictures that it's not. I don't know if Jews probably falsify that also because we control the media.
The Quran or the Bible?
The Quran. In Surah, chapter 18, verse 86 says that the sun settles in a muddy spring, like it literally goes into a muddy spring. We know that the reason why the sun is setting, it looks like it's setting, is because of the circular and the rotational properties of our planet. It looks like it's setting. But the sun doesn't actually set into anything. It's just the way that our planet moves. So this is just, obvious issues that we have with it. But all in all, you look at it, it's, even if you take all that aside, you have one person claiming divine prophecy. against a national revelation of the Jewish people. And there's no even sufficient evidence to say that. They do claim something very interesting, that in Shir HaShirim, it says Muhammad inside over there. They claim over there, and Shir HaShirim, chapter 5, verse 16, it says this. It says, Chiku mamtakim v'chulo machmadim zedodi v'zerei b'not Yerushalayim. Machmadim, they claim, Muhammad, machmadim. The problem with that, let me translate what that means. That means his palate is sweet, and he is altogether desirable. Machmadim means desirable, lovely, cute, desirable, machmadim. This is my beloved, and this is my friend, O daughters of Yerushalayim. Now, machmadim is plural form of mahmad, mahmid. If we would translate it, let me translate the way the Muslims would translate it for you. It would say this: his mouth is most sweet, and he's altogether Muhammad's. This is my beloved, and this is my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. This is my Muhammad's. It doesn't even make sense. I mean, you can't even. Mahmadim is plural of. I don't know. I really. That doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, realizing the idea behind it. All that being said, with all that stuff that we can prove that it's not a divine religion, we still really much, appreciate the fact that they actually go and serve one God. Because we are supposed to be a light into the nation. They're actually serving one God. Taking away, the jihadist and ideology, which again, the mentality that you got to kill everybody who doesn't believe in you, is a very big problem, obviously. But if you take that away, they're not saying there's plenty of good Muslims out in the world. There are plenty of people that they follow the Islam thing, and it's questionable. I didn't look into this, but I'm wondering, and it will be different questions depending on how they see, Muhammad. There's different variances in what we'll do. But it's possible that what they're doing actually represents like Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, what they're doing. Again, not the murdering part, because that obviously just knocks it all out. But everything else that might actually, sort of, there's a few issues that we would have to deal with, but that comes closer than almost any other religion or cult. And that's why, the Jews and the Islam, we do get along in ideology more than any other of the religions and the cults. So, what I want to move on from this is there was a sort of a break-off from Islam. And again, we don't have to, once we refute or disprove or show problems with a mother religion, we don't have to go and speak about the daughter religions, because once you got that, you can move on to the next. But I will touch upon this very briefly. The Bahai religion has millions of followers. The Quran teaches that Allah has 99 names. And the Bahai faith, which was rooted in Islam, teaches that the Baha, the glory, which means the glory, is a special 100th hidden name of God. So, the Bahai faith, they grew out of the Shiite Islam, right? There's two different types of Islam. We didn't even get to the Druzim, the Druzim. We didn't have to get into all those different things, because they're more or less the same. The Druzim is actually a completely different, ideas, but we don't have to get into that because it falls under the same category that we've been dealing with. In any case, the Bahai religion is very, very interesting religion, because they accept all other religious prophets. They're like, everybody's right. Everybody's right. It's like a nice, we're all one family. Let's, sing and hold hands together. Everybody's right. And it's just an ongoing revelation of God. So the Jews are right, the Christians are right, Muhammad's right. Everybody's right. It's just a continuation of what's going on over here. They even claim that Buddha was right. Which, Buddha was an atheist. I mean, I didn't even know, he didn't claim to be a prophet. So I didn't even know how they threw them in. But they put it inside there. This is a very big problem. By them claiming that everybody is right, and it's just a continuation, what's the big problem over here? Every single one of them, when you're dealing with the different religions, they contradict each other. The Jewish prophets don't agree with JC, even though it came afterwards. JC doesn't agree with Islam. Christianity doesn't agree with Islam. So if you're saying that they all came one after another, then they should all agree with each other. You can't claim that they all have the same ideas. Let's say they'll claim, but they all have different paths leading to the same goal. They don't. They really don't have the same paths. And they're not leading to the same goals. If you go to a Christian and say, if I'm going to be a good practice Islam really well, am I going to go to heaven? No. You go to, Islamic person says, if I'm going to be a good Christian or a good Jew, am I going to go to heaven? No. That's not one path, different paths leading to the same direction. It says, my path or the highway. And this is what their prophets told them. So by you claiming that everybody's right is just showing the lack of, research that you did or just understanding of what it means to agree to everybody else. Even if you want to claim only elements of what they said was correct, it's still problematic, because their fundamental beliefs of what they prophesied about would be inherently wrong. So the idea, the way that it started, this is a pretty recent religion. It sort of started in 1844. There was a person by the name of Ali Muhammad of Shiraz. He was a 24-year-old Persian merchant, and he proclaimed there's going to be an imminent appearance of a new messenger from God. And he's going to go, and he's going to be known as the hidden Imam. It's going to be a messianic figure in the Shia Islam, and he's going to call himself the Bab, which is the gateway. And he's going to put in a whole new, ideas into era of peace and tranquility and so on and so forth. He was executed by a firing squad shortly after that. For obviously the Muslims were not going for that. They were like, no, this is not going to happen. And 6 short years later, he was executed by a firing squad. Then there was a guy who called himself Baha'u'llah, which is known as the translation as the glory of God. He was a follower of this Bab, and in 1852, 2 years after he was killed, his teacher, if you guess you call him, this guy, the follower, was arrested, and he was in jail. While he was in jail, he realized that all along he was the Messianic prophet. Go figure. It was him all along. And during then, he started to preach it out, and that's when he started getting a lot of followers, and they were also put into prison, and then they started the Bahai faith. They have some that's why in 1863 is when it officially became the Bahai faith. Bahai means the followers of glory. They claim very interesting things. First of all, they claim that the universe has no beginning and has no end, always existed. This is a outright disagreement with science, because science claims the Big Bang. The Big Bang means that it had to have a beginning, the Torah and everything, which is also a problem if you believe in the old prophets that told you that Bereshit bara Elokim, right in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. If God created the heavens and the earth, how can you say that there was always a beginning? So you take some of their information, you don't take all of their information. Regardless of whatever way you're looking at it, it's wrong, even if you just deal with it from a scientific perspective. They also claim that you cannot achieve personal salvation on their own. You have to rely on the teachings of Baha'u'llah, and that's the only way to get to heaven. They also, and this is something very important, whenever I do research on a different religion, there's a few aspects that I look at. I look at the founder, the founding date, some information about them, get a little bit of information. Also their texts. The texts are very important, what they claim. Besides that, it's very common when you read any of these books that claim of comparative religion, they always state one same idea across the board. What do they believe in the afterlife? It's very important, because one of the main things that of a religious belief is what happens in the afterlife. The Bahai faith does not have the afterlife well defined. Doesn't even, the founders itself didn't even teach about the existence of heaven or Gehenna or hell. So, again, this brings a very, very weak, substance to what you're saying. But even if we take all that away, at the end of the day, it was one guy who had a vision. There was another guy who came after him that grabbed that vision and ran with it. And then he came. But how can you prove that it's right? You can't. You want to believe him, you have to believe one dude. And one dude. Maybe he was bipolar. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I'm not saying that he was, mentally ill. He could have been, completely there. But how do you know? How do you know when you're believing in one person you're believing in, you're putting in all your eggs in one basket. You're saying this must be true. How do you know? And that's why the way that Judaism started was not by one person, because if Moshe just would have came to that, okay, I just spoke to God, and this is what he told him. No, the entire Jewish nation they heard God. They heard, it's crazy. Har Sinai, this is what we're coming on. They heard it, they saw, they died from it. It's a national revelation. If anybody wants to claim that after the Jewish nation, another religion came and tried to change it, then just like God did a national revelation the first time around, he could have done it the second time around. Why didn't he? He should have had. If Islam was correct, if Christianity was correct, JC should have been around, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, just like the first one says, hey, listen, God, this is God, you're God speaking, Jews are messed up, I'm etch-a-sketching, you're the new chosen people. And then so on and so forth. Why didn't he? If this would be the right, why only one man? It makes absolutely no sense when you think about it. Why? It makes and yet you have people that go and and they continue and they believe in this idea. I want to speak for the last short while that we have is about some cults. Anybody here ever heard of Heaven's Gate? I do a lot of research, right? Good. Yeah. Oh yeah. Marshall Applewhite, right? Yeah, Marshall Applewhite. He did speak about it. He brought in a different idea. Okay, so Heaven's Gate, for everyone's not familiar, there was a guy by the name of Marshall Applewhite. Fairly recently, this cult ended very, very abruptly in 1997. You'll soon see why. But he claimed like this, that he was an alien. Bear with me. He was an alien that he went into Jesus' body back when Jesus was around. And then again in 1970s, he came into his current body, Marshall Applewhite. So he's like, an alien Jesus situation coming back over here. And he gave a prophecy. And the prophecy is that there's a spaceship. There's a spaceship that's going to be traveling, and it's going to be on the tail of the Hale-Bopp comet. And if you want to get, this is the Heaven's Gate, if you want to get to heaven, you have to catch a ride on that spaceship. And if you catch a ride in the spaceship, then you're going to go in. So, in March, I believe it was March 23rd, 1997, 21 women and 18 men voluntarily committed suicide to go and get onto this, Heaven's Gate, this UFO. What he did was he combined elements of Christianity and UFOs, I guess, and he put them together and he created his own thing. And by the way, these people weren't like these homeless people that he found on the street, that were collecting charity. Be like, hey, I'll give you a warm meal. You want to believe my religion? And between them speaking of themselves, they'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll join your religion. You want to join mine too? I'm the Messiah. Like, yeah, it wasn't those type of people. These were professionals. People left their families to join him. People left their. It's unbelievable of what the. He was, I don't know, maybe he was a smooth talker. I don't know what it is. There must. You're right. There must have been something that he was able to get. So it wasn't millions of people. It wasn't even thousands of people. But to get these type of people, Hitler didn't tell people to commit suicide so he could get on a spaceship.
Right. It's the same idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same idea, but to kill other people. Killing other people, you convince anybody very easily. Islamic is very easy. Kill other people, not a problem. The Germans, they would kill all the Jews. But you tell a German you're going to you'll kill 500,000 Jews, but you're going to have to die in it. No, thank you. Give me my schnitzel, and go away. They're not what? So and not only that, they all have to wear black shirts, black pants. They had to wear some sort of Nike sneakers as well. They all had to. And what they did is that they took a lethal mixture of phenobarbital and vodka. Then they laid down to die. They also, just in case, they secured a plastic bag around their heads to make sure that if they don't die that way, that through asphyxiation, they will die as well. When they found them, and this happened in California, if I'm not mistaken, I think it happened in California. When they found them, each one of them had a $5 bill and 3 quarters in their pockets. The $5 bill was to cover, obviously the fines that they have to pay when they get there, and they had the quarters to make phone calls. So he was able to convince them to such an extent that they were willing to commit suicide, know that they're going to need currency in the next world. They're going to be payphones in there because quarters for the payphones, and they're going to be able to dial back over here. Now, when you're looking at something like this, if one person can convince that, then what is to say what people can convince when you're believing in one person? When you believe in one person, there's only obviously this is you can't even compare this to anything else. These people who have committed suicide. But this is going to lead me to a next, and the final religion I want to speak about tonight is Scientology. Scientology is probably one of the most controversial religions nowadays. In fact, there are many countries that don't want to claim that they're a religion. But there are many countries that do claim them to be a religion. It was created in the 1950s by a person by the name of Ron Hubbard. Ron Hubbard, he wrote a self-help book, was pretty successful. He's like, you know what? Let's make a religion out of it. And he just went and he took it and he made it into a religion. He created Scientology out of it. Now, what I'm about to share with you is very, very top secret information. And in fact, in order to get this information, you have to be in part of the Scientology, cult, and pay close to $100,000 just to get to what I'm teaching you. This is one of the highest level. The way that it works, just so that you understand, is that you come over there. You ever see these people? They go and they're in the trains and be like, "Hey, you stressed? You got some stuff? Hold these metal poles, and I'm going to ask you some questions." You ever see that? And then they have a thingy. You never seen this thing? No one ever seen it? All right. So they go and it's called an audit. They audit you and see what's going on, inside you. Then they bring you into the church. In order to go into the church, it sounds very similar to a college. You have to take a course. Once you take a course, you obviously pay for it, a few $1,000s. Then you go into the next course. And then once you pass that course, you go into the next course, the next course, the next course. Every course you pay more and more money. The higher you get, the more free that you'll be, the spiritually free that you can be. When you get to a very, very high level course, which is what I'm going to share with you right now, I'm going to charge you all. No, okay. This information has been leaked on the internet already for a while. So this is the story of Xinyu. This happened 75 million years ago. There was an alien galactic ruler by the name of Xinyu. He was in charge of all the planets. There were 76 planets. Each planet was overpopulated tremendously. Like each planet had an average of 178 billion people. Now, he wanted to get rid of this overpopulation. So what he did with the help of his cronies, with the help of his renegades, he called them over and he told all the good people, come in for your audits. You have an income tax audits that they have to come in for. And when they came there with the help of psychiatrists and media, he persuaded billions of people to come in, and then he injected their lungs with alcohol and glycol to paralyze them. Now, once they are paralyzed, this is really what they believe. They were put into spaceships. These spaceships, if you want to know how it looks exactly like DC-8 airplanes, except they had rocket engines instead of propellers. And they flew to the planet Earth, where hundreds of billions of paralyzed people were stacked around the bases of volcanoes. Then what this ruler did, he took a bunch of H-bombs, and he lowered them into the volcanoes. And then he detonated those H-bombs, killing everybody. But everybody has souls. He wasn't going to be a fool. What are you going to do with the souls? So he created these, now these souls were being blown around by these nuclear winds. So he created special traps that caught them in electric beams, sticky like flypaper. By the way, these things I'm quoting. Then they had these force fields that were packaged these souls into clusters. By the way, this all took place in Hawaii.
Sounds like Ghostbusters.
And they packaged all these souls into clusters, and then they put them in these huge cinemas, huge movie theaters, and brainwashed them, through hypnosis, whatever it is. For 36 days, they were watching 3D motion pictures of traumatic, horrific things. This is where also they were told about God. They were also told about Christianity. They were also told about all these future religions.
How long ago was this?
75 million years ago.
They had this kind of media? Nice.
Yeah. Well, they have spaceships, Yeah. So they claim that today everybody on Earth is possessed. What happened was that after these souls broke free from their, traumatic experience, they were floating around. There were a few bodies that were still around. So all the souls sort of inhabited those bodies. They, possessed those bodies. And they claim that everybody here today on Earth is possessed by clusters of soul. They call them the body thetans. That in order to become spiritually free, you have to come to our thing and you have to pay us some money and we'll teach you how to get rid of all these souls. So all these things. So Ron Hubbard was quoted by a publisher, and I'm quoting this: writing is too much of a struggle. The way to really make money is to start your own religion. And hence Scientology came into being. The upper level, this high level, most of the Scientology people are not allowed to learn about this. The information that I just gave you, they're not allowed to learn about it. In fact, people that even know about this in the Scientology realm are not allowed to share this with others. They're not allowed to share this with others. Why? Very good reason, because this, Ron Hubbard, he was the only one in 75 million years that would be able to go and achieve this without hurting. In fact, he did. He claimed he broke his back, his arm. He hurt himself in order to get to this high level. And only through his courses and only through these things can you achieve release of all these souls. And if somebody goes, chas v'shalom, if someone tries to get ahead of this and skip levels, they could die with pneumonia. I think that's a curse that's inside of there. I don't know. They said you could die with pneumonia. The Church of Scientology goes and they deny or they try to hide this story, but it has been leaked via court documents. You have a lot of people that left the religion that they claim, this is true. This is really what they do. Teach. So, basically, they claim very simply that everyone's aliens. We're trapped in, and we got to free. You got to free ourselves. They also, it's very interesting because they don't claim anything about God, anything about divine. It's sort of more of a self-help. The way that they started is very, very smart. They started with psychological self-help courses. Like, oh yeah, this is great. I could do this, and I could do this, and I could do that, and then eventually you get stuck to it until bam, aliens, and then you get stuck with that. So And this is where you have, Tom Cruise, if I'm not mistaken, donated roughly about $25 million to this thing. You have a lot of, big shot celebrities. They have a lot of money, and they also claim to have a lot of followers. Very, very controversial how many followers they have. From 70,000, you get to somewhere to 15 million. It's a very, very wide range of things. I know I said this was their last one. I forgot there was one more, very short one. We're just going to touch very briefly about the North Korea religion, which I'm sure everybody knows everything about. North Korea. The Korea that you don't want to go to. I don't know what you can do in South Korea, but it's a religion called Juche. Juche is it's followed by about 22 million people. The reason why I only need a few minutes for this is because it was created by North Korea's president at the time, Kim Il-sung, in 1955. Originally it consisted of two basic ideas. One is that the Korean Workers' Party revolution, it belongs to the people. Second, the masses of people need to be organized by a guided great leader. And that was going to be Kim Il-sung himself. After he died, it was further developed by his son. And in fact, what they did was they sort of molded this religion similar to Christianity. But they don't nothing to do with Christianity, but they claim like a similar trinity. The North Koreans, they pray to bow. I don't know how to explain this. Three people. The Kim Il-sung, his son, and the mother. There's three, and in fact, in every North Korean home, you have to have on your best wall 3 portraits of them. one of each, and you have to bow down to them, and eventually, after you die, you'll be reunited with, the former ruler, and I guess again live under his rule. I don't know, that's their long-term goal. If somebody goes and neglects those pictures, that's a capital crime. That is a capital crime. You cannot neglect those portraits, and it has to be kept in pristine condition. The problem that I don't even think I have to disprove this. I mean, this is just, if you think about it, as a dictator, there's a reason why all dictators wanted to be God, because you don't mess with gods. They wanted to keep up on the rules, so you go and bow down to the God, you got to listen to it. No matter what he says, you have to listen. Very smart thing. But there's nothing even to speak about, like, did he prove that he was God? No, even divine revelation. Nothing. In fact, some of them consider themselves atheists. They don't believe in God. They believe, whatever, this is God, whatever it is, they be reunited, but it claims absolutely nothing. 22 million people. Now, granted, it's North Korea, so I don't know how many people actually are wanting to do that, or they just want to, make sure they don't die, and that's why they're following it. But all boils down to, you have all these religions. Some of them are just cults that are very easily proven to be cults. But everything else that even you can say even has a possibility of truth in it, we were easily able to disprove it, and you didn't even have to go. Some of them you had to go a little bit deeper than others, but they're all very, very easily disproven. But there's one thing that you have common in all and every single one of these religions and cults, is that they all started with one person. There is some, I don't know if I'll have a chance to bring about it, that they claim, no, we had a divine revelation. And they say, oh yeah, so what happened to this divine revelation? Be like, well, they all died, but one person had a prophecy from God that these people had a divine revelation. So basically what they're claiming is, there was a group of people that had a divine revelation, they all died, then God went to another single prophet and told them about the divine revelation. That doesn't prove anything. That you're just, massive stories. There's no way to check that. One religion stands out from everything else, and that is Judaism. Any questions?
Yeah. I know that the Torah talks about Jesus in Torah Shebechtav.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Excuse me, about that.
Yeah.
It talks about Jesus before he created the whole Christianity. He was actually a Jew, the student of Rabbi Yehoshua, and the whole story. How is that? But does the Torah speak about Muhammad at all? Muhammad
came after already the Gemara was put into place. In fact, Muhammad, the Quran actually takes part of the old Torah. Takes some of the Midrashim, takes some of the Mishnayot. The Gemara was already sealed before even Muhammad came into being. So the only people that you speak about it, you have maybe the Rambam that speak about it afterwards, but the Gemara and the Mishnah, he came afterwards. There's nothing even to talk about.
Okay, another question. Why so? Okay, I understand that it's possible that Muhammad was some illiterate person with a lot of luck, who was able to gather a lot of people to follow him. But today it's like, I think 3/4 of the world that follows this divinity. And you're talking about very educated people. It's not a couple of people or a million of people. It's like an entire, it's more than half of the world that follows that stupid religion that has absolutely no support from anywhere.
Right. So you ask an excellent question. So it's not only that, it's also, you could also say Christianity. That happens about a third, even less. It's about 7 billion people. You get 2 billion for, let's say, for rounded off, up or down for Islam, and 2 billion for Christianity. How come they follow it?
Okay, Christianity can somehow make sense. What they claim is that God chose the Jewish nation, yes, he did, but then they sinned so much that he changed his mind and he exchanged them for the Christians, and therefore there's the New Testament. Okay, so somehow you can think, okay, whatever, let them think whatever they want to think.
What's the difference with Islam then?
Because Islam does not say that there was God, that there was Moses and Hashem gave them Moses the...
No, they do. They do claim that they gave Moses the Torah.
They do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
the Ten Commandments were given to Musa.
Okay, but then they say completely. Okay, so this is he gave them whatever he gave them, but really God chose us, and everything that he gave them now belongs to us, right? So this is completely has no support.
Yeah, but I thought even regardless, I'll answer the same question that I can answer for that. The reason why majority of people follow any religion is not because they did research and they found out to be the right religion. It's because they were born into that religion or they grew up in the vicinity of the religion. And people came into it, they married into the religion, whatever it is like that. Very, very few people go and they search and they say, you know what, Christianity is right, Islam is right. Very few, but there are some people that do that. I'll tell you where the big problem is that when a lot of people go and they research Judaism, somehow they come to reform. And in fact, I know many, many people, when they go and they convert first to Judaism, they convert through Reform. And then they realize, they got ditched, they got messed over, and they have to go and they go through Orthodox. But, now it's actually getting a lot different. The reason why nowadays is very, very different is because now the Torah is becoming available in the online world. I have people listening to my classes from like the far parts of Africa to like the craziest parts that I never even thought that people would be even interested in learning Torah. So you have a lot of people nowadays. That's why the conversions nowadays is sky high. You have so many people converting from all over the world and dealing with a few of them into Judaism. Yeah, they go. You have Christians, you have Islams. They go and they convert to Judaism. One of the reasons that you didn't have that is because us Jews, we don't go and preach. We don't preach others to come to our religion because we preach something very, very simple. You could go into heaven, just be a good Noahide, keep the Shabbat mitzvahs b'nei Noach, and you're good. You don't have to be a Jew. Every other religion claims that you have to follow us or not. Judaism doesn't claim that. You could follow whatever it is, the Shabbat mitzvahs b'nei Noach, live your life freely as you wish, and you have a place in heaven. So we're not there for conversion. But there's some people that want more than that. You have people, when people search, and they really search for the truth, and they look at the difference in it, Judaism comes out all the time. I have many people that I spoke to that they did. The reason why they got into Judaism is they searched. I know one guy that he knows so much. He searched so many religions, so many things, and he said it's very obvious. When you search, looking for the truth, one thing becomes obvious. And I'm not saying it becomes obvious because you feel divine presence. I'm saying using your brain. You use your logical understanding of things. You search the right way, the way they're supposed to search. It becomes very obvious. There's no question. There's really no question. That is one of the reasons why I went through all these, I guess famous or big religions to show you how different they all are and how you have so many people that follow them. The majority also, if you realize, a lot of people follow a certain religion, they're used to it. Everybody loves Jesus. It's like, he's my homie. We grew up together. I just believe in him. I forgive. They grew up, praying to him before they go to sleep. They have, their Xmas trees. They have their holidays. It's whatever. How many of them are already so religious that they go and they understand the whole New Testament? How many Christians people do you think they can quote you some verses from the New Testament, Old Testament, whatever it is? Not many. Not many read it. They're more, they believe it. They go to church Sundays. They hear the pastors, tell them about being, don't do unto your friend what you don't want done to yourself. Whatever it is, they tell you all nice stories. They sing some, some choirs in the background. And that's it. And they go home. They pass around cheese and crackers, whatever they eat, and wine. And that's it. That's the end of the ceremony. One thing I do got to say is some of them are so passionate. They're so passionate. They sweat and they're like, do you believe in Jesus? Do you want to believe in the afterlife? And it's like, oh yeah, and they go into it and they're so into it like that. We really need to learn from them. You don't see people going like that and, do you believe in Moshe? Do you believe in the Torah?
We're not we're real.
Yeah, I guess so. But it is, but look at you see the passion that some of them go through with this. It's so unfortunate that it's idolatry. It's really unfortunate. It's such a shame. I was thinking about that. Like, look how unfortunate it is that some of them, they really want to do good. They really want to do what's right. And they try so hard. They really do. And some of them are really good people. It's a good question. I don't know what's going to be.
And why does Judaism give, not only Judaism, why does the world in general, whoever looks at the Muslim, at the Quran, it makes no sense whatsoever in every aspect of it. No support to it, and we give it so much attention. They don't deserve that attention. That gives them, we empower them by giving them attention.
What do you mean attention?
Like talking about their religion even. It's not even worth it. It's so stupid.
There is a lot of religions that are not worth talking about it. But the reason why we have to speak about it is just to show, first of all, to prevent people from falling into that religion. Because some of them will go and
How? They fall into that? It's so stupid.
Because if you're a good talker, if you know how to write well, it's very easy to convince anyone of anything. Most people could be are pretty, I don't say very gullible, but pretty gullible. If you present it the right way, it's a salesman. If you know how to sell something, you could sell someone something he doesn't need. You could sell someone thinking this is what he really needs. And, so they're able to go and convince him it's a beautiful religion, and it's that, and maybe you could even say that it is, taking away all the murdering, all the 160 plus verses that they, speak about jihad and murdering other, innocent people. Take all that away. Maybe it is, a good religion, you could think about it. But truth is not. That's one thing. One thing is for sure. But again, which is very interesting, that out of all the religions, it's closest as you get to monotheism. It's closest when you get to believing in one God, and as Jews, we respect. We do respect that. We don't respect you trying to murder everybody, but what?
Muhammad was very smart. He put a little bit of the truth inside.
Mm-hmm. That's how you know how to tell a lie. In order to tell a lie, you have to say a little bit of truth. So Maybe, yeah. That's why he drew people in. But the majority of the way that they got it is that they conquered. They conquered a lot of territory, and they said the new religion is Islam. And they were like, no. They'd be like, execution tomorrow. Yeah, where do we baptize for Islam? What do we got to do? Islam. What do you want to just in burqas? Let's do it. Of course. What are you going to murder, death, or be Islamic? And that's what they did. Unfortunately.
I have a friend who actually became Jewish. She used to love. She was Muslim. Then she was an atheist, and then she decided to go for history and science. She loved history and science. While she was an atheist, she used to love history and science. Mm-hmm. And then after being a Muslim, she became atheist, and then she became Jewish. She said that she sat with the science books, the history books, Quran, and the Torah, and she compared things, and she saw clearly, black on top of white, that Muslim has no support, not from history, not from science, and from nowhere. So I was wondering, why can't one of those people who are actually converted from Islam get up and speak?
They do speak. There are a lot of people that speak up against it. They get a lot of death threats. They don't, it's not so easy, to deal with, that type of population. They get very, very over. Put it this way: think about how good they are in convincing people, the Islamic people. Yeah, I give them credit for this. They're able to convince people, if you murder yourself, as long as you kill somebody else, you're going to heaven. Now, why would anybody believe in that? Why would anybody believe a good God, a divine God, would want you to murder other people? Murder other people, and when women, children, innocent, doesn't matter. Murder as much as you can. Jews even better, and that's when that's how you're going to get to heaven. But yet they're able to go and convince people of that. So you see, the power of persuasion is very, very great, and it's not a credit that I would like to give them, but they're able to convince that, and that's pretty impressive. It's terrible. Don't get me wrong. It's terrible what they do, but the fact that they're able to do that just shows how much they're able to persuade people. People are very easily persuaded. Just look at the media. We all have to have nice clothes. We all have to drive nice cars. Why is the lease only 3 years of a car? Why do you have to get a new phone every year, 2 years? You don't. It works perfectly fine. But media does a good job. We're very, very impressionable. This is why the Judaism wants to keep it's more better to keep the media out. That this way you're able to focus on the right thing. Because the media is all, any of these types of ideas, you could think of it as a light brainwashing type of an idea. Like what do people tell you? Say you need this product. I don't need this product. You do need this product. I really don't think I need this product. And a few years later you have an iPad in every room in the house. Why? I need to have a TV in every single room in your house. I've been to houses, in the bathrooms they have a TV. In every single room. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, what are you going to admit? Living room, dining room, kitchen, every sofa room. It was a very nice house. And a bunch of different, every single room that I went to, I was like, it was unbelievable. I'm like, are you afraid of missing something? And, is this what, how much do you need a TV in the kitchen for? It boggles my, you're cooking, so you need to be, this is what maybe why they cut them. So I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. We have to get so distracted. You realize we can't even be with our own thoughts. You realize, how often do you think about yourself, about your life, introspection, he'd want to do it if you want to call it. How often do you walk by yourself and you say, how was my day? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? What can I improve? What can I... No. The second that you're there, either you're daydreaming, right? I know men and women daydream of different things. Men are usually, winning, $1 billion, or they're fighting crime, whatever it is that they're doing. I'm assuming shopping would be, right? I don't know. Okay. So, you just dream about whatever it is that you're dreaming about, but you're not actually thinking. These are just thoughts that pop into your head. How much, but then, if we do happen to think, let me listen to some music, let me listen to this, let me boggle my mind with something else. We don't think. We just keep on having these things thrown at us, and this is what we believe in. And this is why every place that you live in, we end up becoming like that place. We're an American. We're Arabic. We're Gorski. We come from where we come from because you get influenced. Very easy to influence. And the answer is this is what the other religions do as well. They're very easily influence people. Any other questions?
Yeah. Said that they were trying to claim that someone was circumcised. That's why he was so brave.
Okay.
But does that happen nowadays? I thought it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I know people that were born circumcised.
But I thought it doesn't happen anymore because that's a sign of a really great person.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, I don't know. Was he that great? The guy that I know? I know a few people. Yeah, good, nice guys. Good guys. I don't know. I don't know.
I thought it happened to leaders.
No, it happens. You still have people that happen nowadays. They still need to bleep me down. They still need everything like that. But no, it doesn't. Even back then, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a leader. It doesn't mean that you're a...
But like when it happened, like it was like, oh, Moshe.
It was something, it's still out of the ordinary. But to say that it's something so great, that's so unbelievable, that you must be the next prophet, ruler, kingdom, whatever, CEO, no. But it's a nice thing. It's a good thing. Any other questions? Mm-hmm.
We were talking about when the Torah would have a chance to have been changed at the beginning.
Right.
So really we only heard the first two Dibros from Hashem himself, but then afterwards Moshe took over. So can somebody say that Moshe wrote the rest of the Torah on his own?
No, nobody even claimed that, because there was continuation of, connection between God and Moshe. Right. So, and the Jewish people themselves, said, you do it. We can't even handle it anymore. It wasn't that they were like, okay, you heard two, and now I'm going to take care of the rest. And the furthermore proof of that is you want to say there was over about 1 million prophets in Jewish history. And we only have mentioned, not everybody, but I forgot where it's mentioned, that we have close to 1 million prophets throughout Jewish history. Not one of them said that anything that Moshe said was wrong. Which means is if they had, and the prophets were tested, they had to predict the future, they had to show that they were talking to God. Not one of them ever said anything was wrong with that Moshe Rabbeinu, the Chamish Yehoshua Torah, anything was wrong in the halachot, nothing. That is another furthermore proof that what it is stands. And none of the religions claim that. That the first two are right and everything else is wrong. But it's a good point. Question? After. Oh, and for anybody who wants, thank you. Whoever wants to join us on our Thursdays women's class, it is on 1601 Quentin Road at BJX. You're welcome to join us. Supper is usually served. Actually, more than one supper. You guys have here too. That's sushi and pizza over here. So different good food is served over here at 7:45 on Thursdays. But it's always good to email. You can always email me just to make sure that the class is on at rabbizitron@torahanytime.com. That was the pitch. Any other questions? Thank you. No other questions. Okay. Hazakabahu.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.